Hi, Jon Kuzma from EndZoneBlog.com here, and this is the Step Your Game Up show. Let's get right to the ticker. First things first, the fall of the Green Bay Packers. I don't know if you guys have been following the Packers this offseason, but there's been some questionable coaching changes going on. First, they got rid of Don Capers, who is one of the greatest coaching defensive minds this league has ever seen, and they replaced him with Mike Pettine, who's the former Cleveland Browns coach, who was actually the coach while Johnny Manziel was a part of the team. This is a very questionable call because even though Capers was kind of coming under scrutiny the last couple of years because the team has struggled a little bit defensively, Capers is just he has so much experience, and I think he had like 10 more years than Patine has had. He's been a much more successful coach overall. Patine only had 10 wins as a coach of the Browns. And the Packers also brought in Joe Philbin, who's the old Miami Dolphins coach. Philbin is going to coach the offense. He's going to be the offensive coordinator. Together, Philbin and Mike Pettine only have 34 wins. Philbin had 24 wins as a head coach. Mike Pettine had 10. And Dom Capers had more than those guys by himself. He had 48 wins. So I don't get how the Packers are bringing in a less talented defensive coordinator. They're bringing in an offensive coordinator who's never really had that much success on his own either. And the Packers put together a worse staff, and they're expecting better results. I don't think that's going to pan out for them. And if you're a fan of the Lions, the Bears, or the Vikings, you're licking your chops to play the Green Bay Packers this upcoming season. The Packers have been riding high in this league for so long, and this could be one of the very first times that we actually see this team implode. I don't think Mike McCarthy is going to be coaching this team after 2018. I think the Packers struggle this upcoming season with their worst coordinators calling the shots. I think Mike McCarthy gets fired at the end of the season, and don't be surprised if you see Aaron Rodgers walk when his contract expires in 2019. If everything is crumbling around him, why would Rodgers waste his talents playing for an organization that's driving itself into the rocks? You don't want to sit around and watch the ship go down. You know, players aren't loyal like they were back in the old days, who would just stick with their team no matter what. If Rodgers is playing for a contender, I can see him going back out west. He's from California, somewhere out there, and maybe starting a new career in his late 30s. Moving on, Jalen Ramsey. I don't know if you guys have watched, or I don't know if you guys watched the playoff game last weekend, the AFC wild card. Jalen Ramsey had the game-clinching interception, and this guy has been the real deal over his first two seasons. Ramsey has 6 interceptions over his first 2 years. He's just always taking on the opposite team's best offensive threat. I don't know if you guys remember early on in the season, he was battling with AJ Green, and that just is Jalen Ramsey's mentality. He doesn't back down from anybody. He'll go toe to toe with the best in the business, and this is why the Jaguars were so high on this guy coming out of Florida State. It's because he's a plus competitor. He gives everything he has. He has a great motor, great ball instincts. And there's a reason Jacksonville has such a good secondary. You know, it's because Ramsey is leading the charge. They got AJ Bouye out there too doing his thing. It's just a lot of talented people on that defensive unit. And Jalen Ramsey, you got to tip your hat to him. He's been the real deal ever since coming into this league. That's not easy to do. And it's been all action for Jalen Ramsey the first 2 years. Moving down the ticker, let's go to the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons defense is out cold right now. I don't know if you guys watched the last game. Atlanta is led by Adrian Claiborne, Vic Beasley, Tack McKinley, Don Terry Poe. Then they got Deion Jones, who's a phenomenal middle linebacker. They have Keanu Neal, who's a great safety who makes a lot of plays for this defense. And really, Atlanta's getting hot at the right time. You know, they had to win those games to get into the playoffs, and then they handled themselves against the Rams in the NFC wild card, and now they got to play Carson Wentz-less Philadelphia Eagles. That's right. Wentz is out for the year with that ACL injury, and they're a wounded bird right now. Philadelphia was the best team in the league for most of the year, but without Wentz, I just don't see Nick Foles out playing Matt Ryan, and expect to see the Atlanta Falcons moving on after this round because I just don't think, unless that defense really turns up for Philadelphia and Jim Schwartz gets those guys in line and they just clamp down on the Atlanta Falcons, expect to see the Falcons put up more points, get more stops, and just be the better team come this weekend. Moving down the ticker, we also have Jon Gruden. I haven't talked about Jon Gruden much yet. If you guys haven't seen yet, which I'm sure you have because it's probably been one of the biggest headlines of, I guess, the teams who aren't in the playoffs yet off season. It's been the biggest headline out of all those teams so far. Gruden gives up being a sports analyst and a commentator to go back to coaching for the Oakland Raiders. Initially, Gruden said that his number one choice to return would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers didn't want to part way with their coach. I think it's Dirk Koetter. And I guess Al Davis's son, Mark Davis, has been pursuing Jon Gruden for a number of years. And finally, Mark Davis gets his guy. He gets Gruden to give up the commentary job. And for 10 years, $100 million, and maybe a partial stake of the team, Jon Gruden will coach the Oakland Raiders. This is huge because it's a big splash for this organization. Last year, Jack Del Rio was the head coach of this team, and they underachieved. 2 years ago, they were really good, but last year, this past season, they underachieved. And Davis just wanted to get the big splash choice of a coach and Gruden in here to lead the team and just really change morale. And which he has so far. Everybody seems to be really enthusiastic. But you got to keep in mind, Gruden's been out of coaching for a decade. Things have changed a lot in 10 years in football. The spread has become really huge, those concepts. And if you don't know how to use any spread concepts, you can get into a lot of trouble. Now, luckily, Gruden has been up in the booth watching the game unfold. He knows how to run all that stuff. He knows how to incorporate all that stuff. He's seen it just so many times. He's seen so many repetitions that he knows how to plug that stuff into his approach and everything he brings to coaching the game of football. Now, and he's going to hire great coordinators. He's already built a terrific staff, and those guys have been around the game, and they do know about the spread. So Gruden is as risky as it is just to get him because he's been gone a decade. It isn't that much of a risk because we know this guy knows football. We know he lives and breathes a great work ethic, and he loves the game. And I just see everything eventually panning out for this team. I know a lot of people have a lot of concerns whether he can do it, but he's a proven winner in the past. I think he'll come back and be a proven winner again. Will he win a Super Bowl? I don't know. Maybe that roster doesn't have enough talent. Really, that's what it's about, how much talent's on your roster. But I'll tell you what, you have a very talented roster and a mediocre coach, that definitely hurts all your players' development, and it doesn't get the most out of those players. So Gruden is A+ for leadership, and the Raiders are trying to get better. You have to respect that. Last thing we have on the ticker tonight, this is Ben Roethlisberger's best chance to win a Super Bowl. I think it's going to be Roethlisberger's last year. If not, he'll play one more year, but I do think he's going to hang it up at the end of this year. I think Roethlisberger's ready to ride off in the sunset and spend some time with his family. If you follow him on Twitter, he's always posting pictures with his kids. You can tell he's just ready to spend time around the people that mean the most to him. He's made enough money. It's just his time. Well, anyway, with that being said, I know Ben Roethlisberger knows he has to muster up one last run. He has a loaded roster around him. They got guys like Juju Smith-Schuster and T.J. Watt this offseason. And Cam Hayward is healthy this year, opposed to last year when he was out for the season. And Martavis Bryant isn't suspended like he was last year. So all these factors are tilting the odds in the Pittsburgh Steelers' favor. and Ben Roethlisberger has to make the most of it. The front office did their job by putting together the best players they could on the field around Roethlisberger. Now Roethlisberger has to rise up, block out all the distractions. I remember that one year, like before the Super Bowl, he went out drinking with his teammates. He took his lineman out for a drink. I think he should avoid that this year. I think he should avoid any like posting, going out, or anything like that before the big game. Just lay low. This is your last time through and get the job done. You have Le'Veon Bell, one of the best running backs in the league. You have Antonio Bryant. I know he's banged up with that partially torn calf, but Antonio Bryant looks like, or Antonio Brown, not Antonio Bryant, excuse me. Antonio Brown looks like he's going to be able to come back, and it looks like he's going to be able to play. He just practiced, and while he didn't look 100%, things are definitely trending towards him obviously being healthier. So Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, those guys are both marquee players in this league, and they're in their prime right now. I think better than they were in the years past. The last thing is New England has all that drama swirling up. New England's always the team that Pittsburgh can't get past, and New England has inner turmoil going on. There's rumors that Brady and Belichick are at odds with each other because Belichick suspended Brady's trainer from the sidelines. I guess Brady's trainer used to always hang out on the sidelines. Bill Belichick got rid of that. There's also some rumors that Brady went behind Bill Belichick's back and demanded that Robert Kraft trade Jimmy Garoppolo because I guess Bill Belichick wanted to go with Jimmy Garoppolo for the future and get rid of Tom Brady. Now, it seems like after all their years together and all the great runs they've had, like any relationship, it gets tense at times, especially when you have that much pressure on you guys and that much attention constantly swirling around the team. It's just easy for friction and a power struggle to start. Well, Robert Kraft said that Bill Belichick will be back next year. Sometimes teams like to bluff just to downplay all the negative press swirling around the team. But I'll tell you one thing. The New England Patriots did not want all this swirling around their team heading into the postseason. That's huge to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And after everything I named about the Steelers, with the loaded roster, the front office putting together all this talent, New England having all this drama, Cam Hayward healthy, Martavis Bryant not suspended, Antonio Brown coming back, all these factors just point to the fact that this is the Steelers' chance to win the Super Bowl, and they have to get it done. I think if they do win, Ben Roethlisberger will for sure retire, and what a way to go out. It'd be like the John Elway ending. I think Michael Strahan went out on top too, so one of the perfect ways to end your career.